What's up, everybody? Welcome to the the FitLife podcast. I'm your host, Jackie Lavidia, and it has been a minute since I have been on a podcast. 2025 took a sharp turn, and my podcast consistency totally fell off the rails. I don't think I've recorded a podcast for 7 or 8 months, and it's been on my mind, and I finally just kind of said, fuck it, we're doing it. If you're watching me on video, I've obviously got a different backdrop right now. It's not perfect. I am just in my new office, which we'll get to. My kids are upstairs. We're taking messy action. It's not perfect. I'm probably going to get interrupted. But we are here, and I think, honestly, this week has been really, I don't want to say stressful, but social media, and especially short-form social media this week, has been really, it's just, triggering. I go on social media, and there's all this political shit and division and stuff that just is not helping my nervous system right now. And I go on Instagram and I open it and I just get this full body nope. I do not want to be on this. And then you get sucked in, and then all of a sudden I'm anxious, and I've passed 20 minutes of scrolling past stupid shit and what people really want to say and argue and whatever. So I think this is just a good time to transition back to podcasting and actually put my voice out there in a meaningful way, and the right people will listen to this, So I think I wanted to use this episode mostly as kind of an update, and definitely getting into some personal stuff and some things that I am on the lookout for, and what I've been working on. Within this, there's going to be information about health and fitness and how, and I think the big thing for this episode will definitely be how holistic health and wellness is, and how it can really play into each other and into your overall well-being when it comes to just life overall, and living a good quality of life and a meaningful life and a connected life, because that's what health and fitness is all about. I think there's this big kind of misconception that health and fitness is just about fat loss or whatever, and that's really what a lot of people focus on, but we can use it for so many different avenues, and that's what I'm hoping that will be the takeaway for today. And then, I think moving forward, I will be focused more on this primarily, rather than focus on short form content, and really just trying to put out more in-depth information and show you guys how I am as a coach and what I believe in and what I stand by, and how I help people find the same. So I want to start with what my word of the year is. And I know this can sound so silly, is choosing a word for the year. But I've been doing this for the last few years, and what I find in choosing a word is that it really helps me navigate what I want to focus on, especially when I'm feeling kind of pulled in different directions, or I'm not sure what my next goal is, or how I want to improve, or how I want to grow. That word is kind of like my guiding star for the year. So a couple years ago, the first time that I chose a word, it was authenticity. And I really wanted to kind of get into being my authentic self, and figuring out what is that. And I think I found that a lot of my authentic pieces came from who I was as a kid. And I think that a lot of millennials are going through this, because we've become so nostalgic about the 90s and what we had growing up. And I think that there is an element to who we were as kids, and how that and how as a child you just kind of naturally gravitated towards certain things, and you just naturally liked certain things just because you liked them, and you didn't have anybody kind of telling you what you should or shouldn't like, and or you shouldn't do, or how you shouldn't act or think. You just did. You were just you were probably the most authentic self when you were a child. And I think that kind of helped me to open up that can of worms, was exploring that authentic piece of myself. And a lot came out of that year. So then last year, my word was lightness. And when I set out with lightness, my idea of lightness was like, how do I live lighter? How do I not carry so much emotional baggage and not take on everybody else's problems? How can I live in a place of peace and calmness and not take everything so seriously, because life is really short, you know? And I just find that I am that kind of person. Like I naturally take on other people's problems and I feel the weight of them, and I wanted to find a way of letting that go. But what ended up happening was really interesting, because I did find lightness, but in other ways. And it does kind of tie into the authenticity piece of the year before. So in tying in with the lightness, and like, I also feel like too, the more authentic we can be, the lighter we can kind of feel, because we're not completely masking who we are and hiding things that we feel like we should be ashamed of, even if it's really relative to our own authentic self and all of those things. So in kind of doing that, one of the things that ended up coming to light for me was my love for fantasy novels, and you know, those awesome like heroic stories, especially with like a strong female lead. Ever since I was a kid, like I love fantasy worlds, and early on in my childhood, I got really into The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and then Harry Potter, Chronicles of Narnia, like you name it, I probably have read it, and I would just lose myself in these stories. And as an adult, they're kind of coming back, right? Like there's this element of romantasy novels that are coming out amongst women that we love losing ourselves in, and like it's such a great way. It's a way of escapism. It's a way of like living vicariously through these characters. And all of those things. And I love to read before bed. It's a really great way for my brain to shut off for the day. When I immerse myself in these stories, and I can finally just have like one thing to focus on, and my brain isn't being pulled into all these different directions. And it actually allows me to go to sleep faster. So I took that idea and I was like, this can be applied to health and fitness on so many levels, you know, because with health and fitness, and I know for me, health and fitness has really been a driving force in figuring out who I am, and really shedding light on deeper things, things that I carry emotionally, like the traumas that I've had to deal with. Health and fitness has played a role in all of those pieces. And even like the decisions that I've made in my life in order to curate the life that I want, health and fitness has played a role in that. Obviously, like as opening up my own online coaching business. If you've listened to past episodes about how I became a coach, you will know that this was a decision that I made for my family and to make a life for myself that I really wanted. Like I didn't want to continue with working full-time 12-hour shifts while being a mom and juggling all of those pieces. Like I wanted more balance in terms of the family life versus my work life, and having an online business gives me that flexibility. But I did that. I made those decisions. I made it happen. And a lot of this aligns with that like main character energy, right? Like, so if you watch society and you watch what the majority of people are doing, so many people are living on autopilot and just kind of accepting their situations for what they are, and not understanding how much control they actually have over those pieces of their life. And having main character energy is about taking that over and understanding that you have so many pieces of your life that you have more control over than you think. You just have to get creative. You have to be brave enough to take control of those pieces and, you know, navigate them for yourself. Like manipulate them for yourself and put them together in a way that aligns with a life that actually makes you happy and actually allows you to grow and make deeper connections and live like a meaningful, full, purposeful life. And I think when we have those pieces of our life, it makes things so much, but you're just so much more genuinely happy. You're not looking for the next happiness fix. You are just satisfied with your life. Um, so that is where this idea came forward for an online group program called the StrongHer Forge, which is what I created based on the heroines in our favorite stories. So the StrongHer Forge is an online group training program for women where we use health and fitness. Like we still have goals of health and fitness, like doing our training sessions, uh, aligning our nutrition with our goals, getting steps in, getting outside, um, even like hitting fiber and having so much water and things like that. But the understanding, like the premise of this whole group program is understanding that these are pieces that you can control. These are choices that you can make. It might be hard, but also these are skills that we have to learn, and we're learning them together. And then the kicker is that every month we hone in on one female character from our favorite stories. So I started this back in May or June of 2025, and our first character was Aelin Galathinius from Throne of Glass. We went into Superwoman in the summer. We went into, oh my goodness, who did we go through? In our fall challenge, we based it off of Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games, Violet Sorrengail from Fourth Wing, and Tisana Vatazik from, I'm blanking on the novel now. But anyway, the idea is each month we hone in on these women and we look at their stories and like what they accomplish, like regardless of whether they are real or not real, what did they do and how did they accomplish things? How did they overcome their biggest obstacles? Because even if they are fictional, the idea is that we can hone in on those characteristics in order to apply them to our life and in order to use that as inspiration for being stronger in the moment and for using that inspiration to like take the reins on our life and change it into a thing or a piece of ourselves that goes beyond the superficial things that so many people live by. So that was a big thing that ended up taking a lot of my time last year, and then I kind of moved away from podcasting. But yeah, it's been going really, really well. So within the StrongHer Forge, it is a group membership program, but we run seasonal challenges. The fall challenge, we're in the midst of our winter challenge right now. We will be having a spring challenge starting in April. And then we generally take a break in the summertime and resume again in the fall. But even in those months where we're not actively in a challenge, we're still doing other things. We're still focusing on getting our training in, still focusing on doing all of the pieces that we really want to hone in on. And we might have like mini challenges between those bigger challenges. So I'm really excited to kind of like talk about that here on the podcast and what we have been working on, because it has been really awesome, and the community that we're building is amazing. I love going in and like people are commenting on people's questions and sharing recipes and sharing daily wins, whether they're big or small, and the various kinds of wins, which is awesome. And we're just like honing in on gratitude and making sure that we can see our lives through a positive lens. So that's the StrongHer Forge, and that was part of one of the things that happened when it came to my word lightness, was really taking that piece of myself and making it into a program and making it into something that I am really passionate about and sharing it with other people who also have the same passion or can appreciate where this is coming from too. The next thing that kind of happened in and around August. Yeah. Again, a lot of shit happening in the world, And I just remember just having this feeling of like, I need to explore my spirituality a little bit more. Just feeling like something was missing, like I have all these things going for me. I'm healthy. I have a pretty good job, couple of jobs actually. Like the job I have at and healthcare, the job I do as an online fitness coach. I have 2 healthy kids, and I have a wonderful husband. Like I have all of these amazing things that, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that version of Jackie would have died for. And I'm here, but something is missing. And I felt this kind of pull to kind of reopen that spiritual piece of me that I have been avoiding for a very, very long time. So I was brought up Christian. I was baptized Anglican. After my mom remarried when I was about 10, we attended a United church. I was confirmed United. Later on in high school, I went to a youth group at like a Pentecostal church. I am married to a Catholic, and my husband's whole family is Catholic. But I guess I never, like, it's been a very long time since I felt connected to Christianity. And because there was a lot of things that came up that didn't necessarily align with me. And I guess now in retrospect, it wasn't much to do with the Christian beliefs themselves. It had more to do with what other Christians would tell me is right or wrong, or how people would worship and tell me that it's right or wrong in a way to worship, and things like that. So what I struggled with a lot was, how do I be a Christian or have this spiritual connection if I don't agree with everything that's there? And I know that can be kind of counterintuitive. Like, we don't always have to agree with everything that everybody says. But I also, I guess, maybe didn't find a way to connect with my spirituality in a way that I knew how to, if that makes sense. I honestly, I got really vulnerable, and I put it out there on Instagram, and so many people were feeling the same way. So it was really interesting. And then through like different conversations that I had with other people who were in the midst of exploring the same thing, I'm going to just shout out to my friend Leanne. We had an amazing conversation because she has been in the midst of this same kind of exploration over the past few years. So I'm new to this, but she's been doing this for a little bit longer. And she opened my eyes, like my mind in a way that I really needed. So she was kind of in the same boat. Like, she grew up Catholic, but there were pieces that didn't really resonate with her, and she moved away from it. But now she's approaching it in a way that feels good for her. And that kind of opened up my mind of being like, okay, like, I'm allowed to do that. It kind of gave me permission to be like, I am allowed to approach this in a way that feels good for me. And if other people don't align with it, that's okay. But I want to explore this, and I need to do this in a way that feels good, and that feels aligned, and that feels purposeful, and that feels like a way that I can be consistent with it. So in doing so, I have been back, like, I have connected to a local church, like a non-denominational church, where these people have been lovely, and it's been exactly what I needed for a very long time, and I didn't even realize how much I needed it. And through prayer and through kind of exploring scripture a little bit more and worship music, and not worrying about the logistics has been really, really helpful. The logistics being like attending, like feeling the pressure to attend church, or like feeling pressured to worship a certain way. Taking that away has been really helpful for me to actually connect with God in a way that feels good for me, and that feels authentic, and that feels like the way that I feel is right. Because everything that I'm doing since I've been kind of exploring this has been, you know, who am I in the lens of a Christian? Like, and what is that exactly, right? Like, if you are a Christian and you know the story about Jesus and you know like different aspects of Christianity, like the essential part of it is to bring light to the world, to be a good person, like treat others the way that you would want to be treated, right? Like, it doesn't matter who they are, it doesn't matter how they live, it doesn't matter whether you feel, you know, like, yeah. So that has also been a really amazing guiding light for me too, because it kind of takes that element of like, what should I think about this person away. And now I'm kind of living in this space of like that judgment that I think a lot of people feel like they should have is taken away, because my job is not to judge. My job is to be a good person and to bring light to this world and to honor that through God and through heaven. And if I don't agree with the way someone lives, that's not on, like, that's fine, but that doesn't mean that I treat them any less than myself. And even if it doesn't align, even if someone is living in a way that does not align with my lifestyle or my beliefs, that's not on me to judge. That's for God to judge, right? So there's this piece where this lightness has come into play, because all of those problems that people pressure you to have an opinion on or feel like you should act on has been lifted from me in understanding that that is not my job. That is not mine to carry, and I'm not carrying, and even the things that I am carrying of myself are not my things to carry alone. And it has really helped me a lot with my mental health and just feeling like I am not alone in what I carry. And I have this other element that I can kind of look to. And I'm not going to go like super, super deep into that, because I don't think I even would know how to articulate that. But that's where I'm at with this. And it's been really, really helpful. And it's made me feel more whole. Like, I feel more connected. I feel like I have a clearer purpose and a clearer pathway. And I feel like I have more direction, and it's so hard to explain. So the last thing that happened in 2025 was that I found out that I am suspected of having ADHD. And I know that this is like a trending thing right now, where just a lot of people are getting diagnosed or believe that they have it or whatever. But I truthfully, so many, when I found out about the pieces of ADHD that present themselves in women and how they resonate, I was like, oh my gosh, like, it is me. Like, I can't even explain how much it really resonated with me. Like, it was almost like because I have been on this growth journey for so long, I have like really identified pieces of myself like along the way. It felt like I had all of these different pieces of myself that I knew about, but they all came together in one big puzzle, and I just figured out that they all fit together. That's how it felt like when I found out about these pieces of ADHD, and what, not necessarily things that I struggle with, but I do. But even pieces of myself that I didn't think I was struggling with, it just all fit together, and it put all the pieces together for me. There's parts of me that I'm even kind of curious about whether I have some autistic traits and stuff too, but it's just like, I'm in a space where I'm like, I don't think it's necessarily worthwhile for me to actually explore it too much, but just to be aware of and just to understand that my brain might just be kind of functioning differently than other people. And again, it was something else that came to light, and it helped with that lightness piece, because all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, like, it was just, almost a relief to hear that I was struggling because of something kind of deeper happening. It wasn't because I was struggling with certain elements of my life because I was a failure or anything like that. It was literally just how my brain interprets social connections and how I present myself to the world and how the world kind of perceives me. And what I do in order to protect that. So in a way, that was also a contribution to that lightness, because it gave me that relief of, oh man, like I don't have to do this. Like this is how I'm interpreting it because because my brain just works a different way, and that's all it is. So no, I'm not on medication. I haven't been to a psychologist about this, because here in Canada, if you want to be diagnosed when you are an adult, you either have to wait like 18 months to 2 years to get a healthcare covered assessment done, or you have to pay thousands of dollars out of pocket in order to have it done privately. So with working with my therapist, she has told me that she thinks it's very likely, based on we did like a review like a couple of weeks of myself kind of recording things that I was doing or things that were stressing me out, and I sent it to her before our next session, and because there's a lot of basically inner inattentiveness in myself, and a lot of shaming, like a lot of inner shaming that I do when things aren't done a certain way or when I'm struggling. There's just a lot of components that kind of added up that really point to ADHD. And I think just there's a lot of circumstances where women would never know that they have it, because they just kind of learned to deal with it, and they learned coping strategies around getting to know themselves without ever knowing that it's actually ADHD, and that you've already kind of built these coping mechanisms. So that's exactly what was happening to me. But now that I have light over it and I'm coming to understand it a little bit more, I'm now able to find even more coping strategies and different approaches to myself that will be more effective. So I'm actively kind of working on this. And maybe I'll do an episode about the in-depths of this, and like how I came to find out, and like what components I resonate with. I don't resonate, not resonate, resonate with, in terms of that connection to ADHD in my experience. But yeah, that was the gist of how lightness really manifested in 2025 for me. So that being said, now that I have all these pieces of myself, and obviously I don't ever think that there's like a finish line when it comes to growth and things like that, but having these components of my life come to light, my word for 2026 is rooted, because I really want to build more meaning around these pieces, and really focus on the parts of myself and the parts that are in my life of, you know, what it, getting deeper with it, basically. So that's where I'm at for 2026, and in terms of self growth and goals and whatnot. The other thing that happened in 2025 was we moved, and that was not something that we planned like at all. So this was a really interesting story. We were at my son's soccer tournament, out in like another small town, that was smaller than the one that we were already in. So and we were like, oh man, it's so quiet here. It's so nice. And my husband happened to pull up the realtor app and saw this house, but not in the town that we were in, but in a town close by. And he's like, hey, like, look at this house. Like, it's an older house, but they've done like lots of renovations. It's probably might be within our price range. We don't know. So we just kind of decided like, hey, let's go look at it. And we looked at it, and, you know, there's obviously flaws and there's things that stand out, but we couldn't stop thinking about it. So we got our house assessed, and it turned out that our house would allow us, the house that we were in would allow us to kind of have like a parallel move essentially. So we would be able to kind of maintain the same mortgage that we had on our old house, but move into this newer, not newer, but move into this other house in a quieter town, bigger house, more room for us and the kids, and no backyard neighbors, which is really nice. So we were like, okay, like we ended up putting an offer in. We were the only offer. So they accepted, and it was like contingent on the sale of our other house. Now, if you don't live in Canada or in Ontario, especially this past fall, at the time, and even now, I think it was a buyer's market. So meaning that everybody was going in under asking, a lot of people just kind of shopping around, a lot of houses sitting on the market for a long time. So we really didn't know what was going to happen, but we kind of went into it being like, okay, well, we can put our house on the market, and if it doesn't sell within the 30 days of this contingency, and there's no like kind of interest, then whatever, like we won't sell. And then our house ended up selling in 10 days, which was insane considering the market. And so all of a sudden we were like, okay, this is happening. Like we are moving. So it was just like one of those things. And again, like I question whether this call to spirituality and connecting with God says that he had something lined up for us. We were meant to move out here. There is a plan for us to be out here for some reason, because everything just lined up too well. There was some kind of divine intervention for sure. So that's what happened. So we moved the day before Halloween, and we've been out in this little country town for a few months now, and we love it. It has been a bit of an adjustment for like commutes and things like that, but overall it's so nice. It's so quiet. Very small community. It was actually voted the kindest community in Canada last year, which is really sweet. We're like 15 minutes from the beach, like it's just awesome. I'm really, it's been kind of a long winter here. Like it literally started snowing in November. And usually here where I live, snow comes and goes like in November, December. It really doesn't come and stay until January, but it has literally been here since November. So it's been a long winter. I'm really looking forward to the spring and the summer and like the different things we can do out here with the kids and all of those things, especially with the contribution to our homeschooling curriculum too. So I think it'll be really fun. So yeah, that is where I'm at. There's been a lot of like deeper growth going on for me, I guess I could say. A lot of things that I have kind of peeled away and connected with and have used as a way to guide myself through different relationships and the life that I want and decisions that I'm making, and just having that clearer path to, again, like just feeling fulfilled. And this is why I kind of wonder about the autistic piece. Is I had recently learned that people who have autistic traits tend to be Y people. They tend to be people who crave deep connection. And I didn't know that, but it's one of those things too. Like I don't know how true this is, but I'm like, that might explain a little bit about me too. Is I really struggle with superficial connections, and I really have this craving for deeper, more meaningful connection. Like if you were to do small talk with me, I really struggle with that and I feel really awkward. But if you were to come to me with your deepest like meaning of life questions, I would have no problem diving into a conversation like that and open up all the avenues regardless of how much I know you. So that's where I'm at. And I'm just kind of like wrapping my head around these pieces and settling into them and being okay with like, yeah, this is who I am. And I think that knowing these elements of myself will also just lead me to more connections and different people who connect in the same way. And in doing that, I have more fulfilled, authentic relationships with other people too. So I think that in that respect, it's kind of a beautiful thing. So anyways, I'm going to end this here because I have to whisk my son off to an art class shortly. But we're starting this up again, okay, guys? So make sure you subscribe and follow me on my other avenues. You can find me at JL.FitLife on Instagram. You can find me at JL Fitness and Lifestyle on Facebook. And you can go to my website, www.jlfitnessandlifestyle.com. I am accepting one-on-one coaching clients right now. I am always accepting new members to the StrongHer Forge. And if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me. All right, that's it for now, guys. I'll see you next time.